I'm going to hit the button. You know, you've had a good D&D game when you get laid during the game. You know, you had an even better D&D game when the DM actually starts RPing the getting laid.
See, I don't.
Are we recording? Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay.
I
think I missed the announcement on my.
He just said he was hitting the button.
Yeah, but coming through on the thing.
I meant YouTube didn't notify me.
Oh.
I got it.
Did I get it? Who knows?
Are you subscribed to the channel?
I am subscribed to the channel.
Did you ding the bell?
Jesus.
I thought I had, but maybe I'm wrong.
Those are messages. Let's go to videos.
But it normally normally it has been pushing the notification anyway, but oh well.
Descriptions.
Huh. Not new.
Wasn't that
There's stuff to do today? I got other things to do. That'll help. Okay.
Yeah, subscribed and the bell is clicked or whatever.
The bell is rung.
The bell has been tapped.
Ding ding.
It's okay. No one's probably going to join us because they didn't know we were recording until maybe half hour ago.
Or it's just okay. Now when I pinged in the Telegram chat. By the way, speaking of ping, I never used ping as a version of DM or direct message or a chat or anything until I started working on a contract with Google. But there is one thing. There is one thing that I absolutely refuse to use, and that's tricks.
What is that?
Yeah, Damon and I are unaware.
It's a spreadsheet.
Okay. That a direct message spreadsheet?
No. A tricks is a spreadsheet.
Is it a version of a spreadsheet? A software?
No, it's just a spreadsheet. It could be an Excel spreadsheet. It could be a Google Sheets spreadsheet.
How's it spelled?
TRIX.
So, okay, in Google, when you type in tricks, you get Trick cereal.
Right.
General Mills.
But a term they use in Google for a spreadsheet or a matrix of information is tricks. And it bugs the hell out of me.
Matrix.
Yeah.
So it's like Matrix. Got it. Like our episode Matrix. Got it.
Even Urban Dictionary calls it a cereal. They do.
Yeah, it's a cereal.
I'm just like, what the hell? So I think we can all agree they're smoking crack or making shit up. Or just being lazy and shortening a word that didn't need to be shortened.
Silly rabbit, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Now it makes me hungry.
Are you now hungry for tricks?
What I'm hungry for is sugary sweetness.
Mm-hmm. Well, you'll be getting that later, I'm sure.
I usually get savory
Oh, really?
when we go get crepes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
Although
I
I
tend
understand that.
I tend to get the special depending on what Stephanie makes. So for those of you that don't have any context of what Damon and I are suddenly talking about, he knows that afterward I'm recording my best friend Heather, who's up visiting for the weekend, we're leaving and we're going to get crepes like we usually do. So I'm thinking about how like usually it's a actually breakfast meal thing. So as she calls them, they're French burritos. So
Uh,
you know, Stephanie's kind of funny that way. But I tend to get a savory, but I don't know what her savory is for today. I could look it up online and
there
see
you go.
because
Because we had
Get
there
excited
used to be
for
a place.
crepes.
There used to be a place in town called It's Just Crepes, and that's pretty much what they did. They made crepes, and obviously they had the common like the sweet crepes and the savory crepes, and like you know, and they were pretty good overall. Um, it became a unfortunately it became a fad here. Like it was really popular like right at the beginning, and for a long time, for a while, it was like the place to go. Um, like I said, they had a lot of different ones that I really personally enjoyed, and then slowly over time, people stopped going. You know, because we've had them all, or we've done this, and they weren't really. I don't know how to describe it. Um, they got stuck in what they were doing, and it's great in theory, but if you're not really upping the game, I think here in Cincinnati people get a little like whatever, unless
oh,
it's chili, like. But what the fuck ever. But like, people eat chili till the day, or Cincinnati chili, don't not chili, till the day is long, and it can never change, and they'll be fine with it. But
Isn't
a crepe
Cincinnati
place or something with fun.
isn't Cincinnati
Yeah.
chili basically chili on top of spaghetti? I mean, that's probably not absolutely accurate, but general idea.
um,
I don't know. I mean,
so I
I'm
will say this
asking.
from
No,
it.
no, no.
I will say from an outside perspective, that's probably the most inaccurate layman's reference. Only because most people think of chili as chili with kidney beans, and
Hmm.
so there's no beans.
Yeah.
It's actually
There's
I call it more like coney sauce.
yeah.
Like
It is a meat sauce that is called chili for
But
some reason here in
it's
Cincinnati,
it's
and it
chili-ish,
is put
right?
over.
Like if you were doing a
It
chili
is put
dog
over
sort of thing, right?
in a sense, yeah, yeah. You could call it chili. They call it chili. Um,
I'm even more amused by the fact because David is not from Cincinnati, so he has like no no stuff, no whatever like tied to this. So
no, yeah,
online it's referred to as a Mediterranean spiced meat sauce, topped over spaghetti or hot dogs or both dishes by Macedonian immigrant restaurateurs in the 1920s.
hmm
And it became popular. Similar dishes are Rochester hot sauce or hot wiener sauce. That's kind of
yeah,
funny.
yeah. So again, it has those. It has origins, and I'm sure like it is a taste.
Not everybody's a fan.
Look,
Not everyone's a fan.
look. I've been known to take either a leftover either chili or taco soup, and using that to be my sauce for spaghetti. So
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing to do. Like that's kind of what it is. I hate not sound like it's not leftover, obviously, but
no, right.
like it is literally like for me, it is spaghetti. Like
Right.
you take the spaghetti noodles and you throw a meat sauce on top of it. that is spaghetti. Period. Like, and then you throw cheese on it. Like that's spaghetti. Like, so then but to Cincinnatians it is like liquid fucking gold. I don't get it. I will never get it. I could eat it, you know. I don't like it on spaghetti because it just doesn't work for me. Like it's too runny, watery to me to be like, let's throw this on a spaghetti. Like, to me.
But one of the major chains in Cincinnati, though, is throwing back on that. They're clapping back on it.
Yeah.
Because the last time I was down, I saw a billboard that made me laugh because it was like Cincinnati chili, the non-watery kind or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I was like, oh shit! I'm like, they're starting a war.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There are two big like main like producers here in town. Like there's Skyline Chili and there's Gold Star Chili. They're like the like brands that are franchised and you know international and whatever. And then you get like food. Let's talk about food.
Yeah. I'm like, welcome to COL 561.5. Let's talk about Cincinnati chili.
Well, we're going to talk about food next week, I think. So it's
well,
just odd that
where's our what's going on for the month?
Oh no, you're right. What's going on is going to be next month. Then we get into food. Sorry.
Like,
I was just looking at the Matrix.
First off, I just realized. Yeah, first off, I realized. Oh, hey, this would actually be kind of the appropriate time to do our what's going on, but we're doing a different show.
Well, the month hasn't ended.
I suppose. So is there going to? So is there a specific range? Like the month has to end it within so many days, or have ended in so many days, or something?
Well, think of it this way: if there are 5 Sundays in a month, then the last Sunday is kind of like an extra Sunday. So doing the what's going on the 5th Sunday would make the most sense.
So in August, for example, we will do it on the 30th of August because that will be the 5th Sunday of the month.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, no? No?
No.
No?
No.
No?
No.
Did you forget about someone's birthday?
Oh, that shit. That. Oh, okay.
I mean, we could technically do the what's going on during the power hour. It's going to be really weird in those cases, but still.
Anyway.
Needless to say, everybody, welcome
to
the clusterfuck that is planning.
Welcome to the pre-show.
So,
yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, the thing is that this month we took a week off and we did a flashback, so we haven't hardly had any content. So,
yeah,
yay, more content.
Yay! I got a thing.
We're here to stick it in you.
Mm-hmm. I got a thing in about an hour and a half.
Repeatedly.
Okay, let's
go. Which on another platform we're currently debating whether it's going to be streamed or not. So.
Cool, please. Then let's do it.
Yeah, let's jump into it and
get it. I will end my conversation about Cincinnati chili. It sucks. There we go.
Cincinnati chili is. I haven't had quote unquote authentic Cincinnati chili, but the concept and everything sounds perfectly fine and delicious to me. So it's fine.
You go for it. You do it.
Yeah. In any case, in 3, 2, 1. It's Sunday, July 26, 2020. I'm Jeff.
Who's your bear? That's right. I am your bear.
I'm Damon.
Oh, I have to hit a button.
I don't brew the tea, I just serve it.
And that makes me Gary.
Don't hurt nobody with your bad self.
And welcome to Comes Out Loud, the Bear Podcast Adventure on the Lakes, episode number 562. And this is what happens when you have insomnia. Hi.
Yay.
Yeah. I know. It's thrilling.
Makes you a poor performer.
Yeah. No. I'm good. That's not shade. That's tea.
Okay.
See, I do pick up on some of these terms from my co-hosts. I might be the one who has VH1, but I'm not the one who watches Drag Race. But I pick up a few things. Anyways, moving on. Gary, what is
The topic today.
the topic?
So we're returning to a series that we haven't done an episode for in quite a while. The What Is series. And the question is, what is pleasure?
Ooh.
So, Mr. Damon, I saved you a step, and on the doc I put the definition.
Oh, well, thank you, because I actually had it up.
Oh. Because I knew for this episode we were going to get into this.
Okay. Oh, wow. So,
Damon as our dictionary.
thank you. What is pleasure? It is a noun. As a noun, it is a feeling of happy satisfaction and enjoyment. And as an adjective, it is used or intended for entertainment rather than business. And as a verb, it is to give sexual enjoyment or satisfaction to. Pleasure.
Basically,
It's very interesting that the word is a noun, an adjective, and a verb.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like it's saying pleasure to give pleasure is pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it kind of fits in all categories. Of course, the thing is, pleasure kind of can mean different things just outside of all that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's
Very true.
physical pleasure and emotional pleasure. And even on like physical type of pleasures, there's different types of pleasures.
Yeah. I actually like what Wikipedia states, because it's using it kind of in the series in emotions. It says, quote, pleasure is a broad class of mental states that humans and other conscious animals experience as positive, enjoyable, or worth seeking. It includes more specific mental states such as happiness, entertainment, enjoyment, ecstasy, and euphoria. And I'll end it there because it starts going into much bigger things. But that's kind of I like that idea, that especially with the emotional side of things, that it is, it's one of the more positive emotions, feelings.
Yeah, like it's might be pleasurable to get a blowjob, but it also is pleasurable to cuddle.
It's also pleasurable to just
Have
relax.
some Cincinnati spaghetti.
Oh God!
Or chili. Sorry. Said that wrong.
Fucking
I was going to make a reference to the pre-show, and I did it wrong.
For the layperson who's not a patron, you don't get that reference. You needed to know the pre-show. Anyways.
Pleasure is
So the interesting thing
grilled cheese
about
and
pleasure,
tomato soup.
I feel, is that you can be the giver and the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So when we had Ed on and we talked about in our show, Let's Talk About Sex, Asking and Receiving, I thought this would be an interesting topic because I think this is how most people view it in terms of giving and receiving pleasure.
Mhm.
I think they tend to go to the verb as in, sexual enjoyment or satisfaction. But there are other aspects to it. Like, Damon, I think you were just saying, about like just resting or being quiet,
Mhm.
you know, can be pleasurable to an individual because maybe you have a very hectic life and, solitude or silence, um, is something like that. I think of busy parents, um,
Mhm.
mothers, fathers who, have kids running around all the time and, it's things that they're trying to take care of a family home.
Yeah, and I get that one time, like that, like few hours where the kids are asleep. They're not running around doing anything. They're done with the cleaning or whatever, and they can
Right.
just like sit and be,
And, and
just be,
Decompress.
and to be fair,
compress.
none of us have any experience with child rearing.
Well, in
You've got
raising
aunts,
children,
uncles, and you might be
right?
an uncle or something to somebody. I just became an uncle within the past year. Been less than a year? Yeah, I think so. So, and even that youngest is like 11 or 12. So I didn't even get that.
Um, Congrats on being a uncle. Uh, right, and so like in terms of like with children, like I saw a meme last night. That's why it came up, and it made me chuckle because it said about after the hecticness of the day, blah blah blah, and you put your kids to bed, and then you hear the floor creak, and you think to yourself, that better be a monster and not my children getting back out of bed. And I was like, well, that sums up parenting in one perspective. Like, you're just kind of done with everything, and you're like, I'd rather deal with that than this. I was like, okay, how interesting.
So parenting advice from the gays who have no kids is to make sure to frighten your children to stay in bed by letting them know about the monsters that are underneath it.
Nah,
Nice.
I think
I
it's
wouldn't
too much of a
necessarily get
psychological
that.
damage. I'd rather give them
Yeah.
like a Dimetap laced popsicle before bed.
I would, no, that's
Just make David spit take.
it's like
I'm
Dynatap.
glad I didn't drink. I almost drank. That would have been like.
Dynatap, the kids' version of Nyquil.
Anyways, I'm obviously not endorsing that. I'm joking for anybody out there, but
Give
as
them
crossed my
Benadryl
head.
and they'll be out for the rest of
We
the
really
night.
don't want you to psychologically damage your kids by scaring them about monsters under the bed, or drug your kids.
Or drug them. Yeah. Or drug them.
No.
Long explanation for one, super easy explanation for the other.
No, I mean it's just I don't make them
Mhm.
chemically dependent, but you'll find your way.
Find a balance.
Yeah, I don't know.
Find a healthy balance.
When you really need your rest, that's when
Well,
you give them the Dynatap.
So to segue back into the topic, I think the challenge is to meet people where they are and give them what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So, kids who are up late at night or whatever, there's something going on as to why they're up. Like, and it's difficult, I think, for adults to relate to children sometimes because we are so far removed. It has
Wow.
been years, if not decades, since we were last, in
Mm-hmm.
touch with them or on their level, so to speak. But I kind of feel that way also with, even being adults, like talking to each other and, doing things that are meant to induce pleasure. Whether it's hanging out, gaming, socializing, being active, doing things to each other, with each other, and each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's pleasure can like it does run the gamut, like for sure. Like there are so many things that can be pleasurable. And I think I think us as human beings tend to prefer to find things that are pleasurable and keep doing them.
Well, yeah, because we're genetically geared that way. Like we have this whole pleasure like resource, referencing system, and it's like, oh, this is good. I enjoy this. I should do more of this, which is also problematic because that's how addiction like takes hold. because, I
the
enjoy
worst.
eating all the time. I like drinking. I like, eyeing the pain or the negative
You're
stuff that I'm
avoiding the pain.
experiencing.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
sort of the other aspect of
gamble,
it.
or
Hmm.
I, become a chronic masturbator, or I, pay for sex on the daily, whatever.
I mean, you
Hmm.
make chronic masturbating sound bad.
Well, it
Well,
can be.
it can be like, to me, when I think of like anything along those lines, like chronic, to me, like chronic masturbation are, I think of things that take you away from like functions of life. Like, you need to work to pay bills, to get money. You need to work to get the money to pay the bills that you need to sustain your life. If you are masturbating all the time and avoiding work, or are always late for work, or are masturbating while you're at work and get caught and cause a huge human resources situation, like, that's where it could be a bad thing. um, and I think like the big thing for me is that it's always about balance. You
Mhm.
know, we need to find, while we can enjoy the things that give us pleasure, we cannot avoid the things that cause us pain, unless it's absolutely possible. Like, there are things that can maybe cause us pain, um, mentally, that we can potentially avoid, in the sense that we don't have to think too much or think too hard about them.
Mhm.
But like, there's a difference to me between like constantly being pleasured, like like that constant feeling of euphoria and not getting out of that, that can be just as bad
Mhm.
as dealing with the pain or having any kind of pain.
Right. Yeah, but in general, for most people, I would assume, I mean, pleasure comes in many different forms, as we've been saying. And I think one of those key factors is anything that gives you a dopamine hit,
Hmm.
which is something that's just generating in your body. Uh, and you just enjoy something, whether you're watching a comedy and you start laughing your ass off at something, uh, or even some things like that are really just cathartic, like
Hmm.
a a good tragedy would do that, because you might end up being sad about it, but that emotional journey gives you that dopamine
Hmm.
hit. And even though you might cry or something, like one of my favorite things is Transformers from 1985, the movie. When Optimus
Okay.
Prime died, I bawled, and I think that's what he
Spoiler
did
alert.
through. It's like 35 years old.
I'm kidding. I'm
It's definitely
kidding.
not a
Doesn't
spoiler.
matter to David, apparently. He's looking out for those few people out there who in 3.5 decades haven't seen the damn thing, apparently.
I'm, I'm actually
Whatever.
kidding. I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. It was just me just to throw that joke in.
yeah, just watching one of those movies.
Sorry.
I mean,
So
and
my,
things such as your comfort foods. I mean, the comfort foods give you pleasure just from the fact, like my classic tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches,
Mhm.
totally pleasurable. In the meantime, I also like a good blowjob where somebody's fingering my ass.
So
Same thing.
follow
They're both pleasure, very different type of things.
follow
Okay,
Yes,
up.
David?
follow
Are you
up.
getting the pleasure from the blowjob or from the finger hitting your prostate? Like, like,
No,
is
I,
it
I don't
both?
even mean like
Is it
necessarily.
all?
I mean,
Is it
yes, it's probably a combination.
maybe 60-40?
Yeah, There's a percentage in there, and they may not even be actually getting into there. Just like kind of like if you
Just touching
had two
it.
people, one person is blowing you, while somebody else is giving you a rim job, or just the rim job. It's
Well, we know
I haven't been rimmed in forever.
what gives Jeff some pleasure.
So, one of the things I want to talk about is the crossover between pain and pleasure. Because Damon, you were talking about, the emotional, like, and kind of like, I think people think if emotions are like kind of on a circle or a wheel, and like there were opposites, that they would think that pain is the opposite of pleasure. But
Yeah.
as we've discussed previously in LTAK series, like there is a crossover. Like
Yeah.
there's a center point that draws the two of them together, that people can be given pain, but they find it pleasurable. In consensual kink, moments, I think that is the goal, is to reach, a certain place within yourself as the sub, as the dom, in the moment of what's happening, by quote unquote putting someone, through something that others may consider to be a negative state, and pain in some version that it's actually releasing endorphins and can be pleasurable. And I think that, I think the kink community far more than others is able to understand when people do things to inflict harm on themselves, and that it's not in their best interest, but they do it because there is something pleasurable about it. Like I think of people who cut themselves or mark themselves, and I think some people struggle with this because they're like, why would you do that? Like, that's just an awful thing to do. And I get the questions, they're a bit judgmental, but I understand it because you don't have a frame of reference as to why somebody would do that. But the reason that they do it is because it gives them some sense of pleasure. Even if the pleasure is minimal and it just brings them back to the moment in which they feel like they have control over themselves, or can divert pain, like other pain, psychological pain maybe, or emotional pain. So pleasure is kind of like a big umbrella thing, and touches practically everything in some fashion, whether it's eating frosting out of a tub, or fisting someone, or
getting flogged or beat,
running a 5K.
Yeah, like in the kink community, it's sadomasochism. So like kind of thing is the whole, and I'm sorry I had to look it up because I always get the words wrong. So like psychological tendency or sexual practice characterized by both sadism and masochism, which is sadism is the one where you get pleasure from causing pain, and I think the masochist is the one who gets pleasure from receiving the pain. If I'm remembering correctly, it has been a minute. So that is well involved and well ingrained in the leather and kink community. There are people that do get that release, that pleasure from that physical pain. They can go into that headspace that clears their mind, or like it's very euphoric for some of them. And on the flip of that, the person who is delivering the pain on the person is enjoying the fact that they are giving that person that pain pleasure moment. It's complicated, but not that complicated when you kind of think of it like that, in those kind of like very simple, like one step, two step, one person is this, the other person is that kind of way.
So one of the things I find intriguing about the concept of pleasure is that we, I think more often than not as humans, learn early on what pleasure is, but it's not defined, because like, especially in terms of like an emotional state or even a
Mhm.
physical state, like arousal, things of that sort. And we are quickly, I guess I want to say, instructed, trained, reinforced, or whatever, that certain things aren't acceptable. So I think about like with parenting and babies, and how like they will discover things about themselves, but society says it's inappropriate, like running around without a diaper on, or
Mhm.
playing with themselves, doing different things, and it's like, oh, that's against the moral code or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and I find it very interesting how like that can have profound effects into the future as to how we look at certain things, and have respect, quote unquote, for communities and structure and things of that sort. And then as you get older, you develop your own senses, your own definitions, create your own arenas, possibly boxes as to how you look at stuff. And I think that's one of the better things about the human experience, is that you can do that. So as you get older, you can say to yourself and be like, oh, actually, I really don't agree with that. Like, I was kind of told this, but it's not really my thing. And, with the circumstances of what we're dealing with today in our society, I find it interesting how people are really struggling. So, for those of you in the future looking back, remember it's 2020, the magical year, the year of a pandemic, um,
Yeah.
and how it
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
inflicts things on people. So, I think people are struggling with a lot of different items. One of them is a sense of themselves, because a lot of us derive our identity through what we do. And when you
Mhm.
can't do that thing, then you tend to struggle in like being satisfied. Uh, and satisfaction, I think, is a piece of pleasure. And what do you do in those aspects? And I think it can really be part of the underlying drive as to why people make the decisions that they do. If this isn't pleasurable to me, then I'm not going to do it. Uh,
Mhm.
as for instance, people, I think it's really in the minority. I think it gets reflected or shown a lot in media, especially in social media, but I think it's in the minority of individuals who
Do
are
it.
like not willing to
Mhm.
as take precautions for safety, such as wearing a mask. They feel, that they have their own individual right to, not do so.
Mhm.
Um, and it's kind of I think it's kind of dicey, because you have to figure out where the the focus is, and so I can understand, like, if it isn't comfortable. And I think comfort is a big piece of like pleasure. Like,
Mhm.
why would you willingly do something if it's not comfortable? Well,
Mhm.
as we were just discussing, you were saying with like S&M and kink, like sometimes you push through the uncomfortable because you know what's on the other side, like what's to come from it,
Exactly. Yeah.
which I just realized also can relate to sex. Like, when it comes to, anal sex, most individuals do not find their first few times, necessarily pleasurable, at least not immediately, because,
Yeah.
to be honest, functionally, that is not exactly how.
That hole is not for things to go in. It is for things to come out. Like that is the purpose, like the biological purpose of the anus. Um,
Right. But we as a species discovered it has a ton of nerve endings. And
yes.
therefore, that can be a feedback loop system that can, move from pain to pleasure. Wow, that's a really interesting, wild metaphor. I'd never thought about that before. Sorry. But no, I was just like overlaying it. I was thinking about how, like, the anus can go from pain to pleasure, just like things and like kink can. Um, you
hmm
know, anyways.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I mean, you're not wrong. Like it's something to think about, and um, you know, anyone who has, I mean, I'm just gonna put it like this: anyone who has ever like tickled their asshole, like in the shower or in any way shape or form, even the, like, I hate to say, even like the most like heterosexual like male,
mhm.
there's something there, like as you said, there are a bunch of nerve endings there that are just like, and when you hit them in like just the right way, like it could potentially be orgasmic. Like I am not a bottom. I haven't been a bottom in a long, long time, but like if you want to play and touch and like feel around in there, like I'm all for it. Like, like well, because and I mean, like Jeff, you were talking about like you're kind of becoming more verse, and you enjoy like maybe during like just like a blowjob, like someone to like put their finger there, like. It adds to the sensation because there are a bunch of little things there that are adding like that can touch and feel and make it feel like really, really good. And you're just adding more like waves of pleasure on top of what you're already getting pleasure from. Right. So like, why not have more? Like, we're greedy motherfuckers. Like, so here you go. Like,
well, I mean, yeah, and no offense, the American society is pretty much the epitome of greed.
Yeah, fact. Like, there.
And I'm not making a political statement. I'm just talking about observationally. Like, just look around at what we have out there in terms of like what's available in the commercial retail space. You know, America is kind of the land of food buffets, endless lines of, all you can eats. Well, used to be before the pandemic.
Well, yeah. But that's but that's kind of the thing overall. Like that's like more like be like you can sometimes be gluttonous in your pleasure. To me, as long as consent, is part of that. Jeff, like you mentioned, you have the guy. Like if you like, it's great to allow someone while they're blowing you off to like put the finger there. Like if you've talked about it and discussed it, then it's obviously no big deal. But like, if it just happens to happen, I mean, you might be okay with it, depending on certain other factors. But like hey, like, ooh, there's a little surprise. Like, and I'm definitely enjoying it. Like, let me just ride this little wave of, euphoria.
Yeah. And one thing which kind of was discussed last week, but the one thing that kind of bugs me at times is I haven't really found a lot of people who don't instinctively go there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm not surprised.
Do what I want, and then me being by weird, socially awkward person being, I don't ask for it, which is the problem, my own problem. And I'm sure there's plenty of people willing to do it. They just don't do it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I always find that when I'm giving a blowjob, I'm going to use my hands to touch other places to help enhance how I'm giving that blowjob. I'm not just going to go straight cock. I'm going to get the balls a little bit of attention, whether it's with my mouth or with my hands, tickle them, get a little in the taint, move down to the ass. And I always like touch, but not necessarily like really poke it in there at all, and see how they react. If they don't react well, then I move away and everything like that. It's like hey, can I go over here? And then get the signal that no, okay, cool.
Okay, we're good. Okay, we'll just. What we're doing.
I make it so it's like indicating that I'm going there, but not actually going there. So that it's not like I'm doing something that's non-consensual. It's more of like a motion way of asking. Is this okay?
And then you're pointing that you're like you're given the roadmap, like you're pointing the directions. They can choose to go that way, or they may want to turn right, like, and they're good. Like you're
I mean, I think of it in like gaming terms. Like you're checking out the map of what's in front of you, and sometimes you're like, "Is there a warning sign? Oh, there's a warning sign. Okay, I probably won't go over there for now, or at all,
or vice versa." There's a warning sign. I'm going to check that out.
There's a
more
XP.
Big
flashing like green sign saying go 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 go. Like, of course you're going to go. Like, Aha.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, guys really need to learn more about dealing with the undercarriage while dealing with the front, dealing with the back while working on the front.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I
And
think
Personal
Go ahead,
opinion. That's just me.
no, you go ahead because you're probably going to say what I was going to say. So
Oh,
go for
cool.
it. Maybe
So,
we'll see.
I think we as a society, are still hundreds of years later dealing with this what we quote unquote call, puritanical concepts about,
Mm-hmm.
sex and pleasure and those kind of things. And while I can understand that for some people it's a forbidden zone or a no-go zone or whatever, I think that ties into other stuff. Like I think if you were to break it down and ask them and talk about it, they would talk about, like, oh, well, that's where, I have a bowel movement and feces come out and that's gross and da 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 da, and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, that's really the root of it. You know what I mean? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
even then, there's still an underlying, like, you've adopted that, you've accepted that, you developed that from somewhere. People didn't tell you, like, you didn't come out of the womb, you know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean, with that ingrained in you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a foregone thing that's passed down genetically that we absolutely avoid it.
Yeah.
Hence, we're busy talking about it.
Yeah.
So I think that one of the things about being a human uh potential is like the journey of breaking down walls, like as you get older and you learn things and you say to yourself like, oh, well, that was something I was taught when I was younger and I don't necessarily agree with that, or I don't,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't apply to me anymore. um Not everyone has that kind of an experience, as they age, that they say, oh, this is, you know whatever. I mean, and that's been a big thing for me because when I was in my 20s to where I am now, like half a lifetime ago, I was really a different person in terms of like sex and understanding pleasure and the concepts of
Mm-hmm.
that and what all is involved. I was uh, fairly judgmental and presumptive about why people would choose to do certain things. And I've had a lot of experiences I feel blessed for that I've taken a step back and been like, okay, what's going on here? Like, why, instead of um, making a presumption, why don't I try to like learn something from this in this
Mm-hmm.
moment and see what I get out of it? Because I feel the more I learn, the better I become. The more well-rounded I am. I can relate to people better, understand their circumstance, make them feel comfortable, like
Yeah.
in the space that we're in, even if it's just, two strangers in a moment who happen to meet over, a circumstance that's unexpected. You just kind of, okay,
Yeah.
like let's see what the situation is here. Um and I hope from those interactions, like the other person has a better short term like effect, if not a whole day. You know what I mean? Like from having an interaction. But it's not easy. We're constantly riding an emotional roller coaster all over the place. We're angry, we're
True.
sad, we're mad, we're annoyed, we're upset, we're frustrated, we're, on
Mm-hmm.
ecstasy, whatever. So it's just about like when we meet each other.
Yeah.
Okay, when I said on ecstasy, I did not mean actually like taking
Wow.
E. What I meant
I
was,
know, right? I was like, what?
The feeling of
That's
ecstasy, not the actual drug.
like not drug. Yeah. Got it.
not to
Um,
not to poo poo people who take ecstasy. You do you, boo.
you just be safe.
Just please don't be harmful.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I kind of
Just
get
read
that
my
here.
co-host shirts.
Yeah, I kind of get that, Gary. Like that's the thing. I think for all of us, like we all need to kind of like understand, like your understanding and grasp of yourself and what you get pleasure from is important. Like what gives you pleasure? Like whether from the mundane to the ridiculous. Like what in your normal everyday life gives you pleasure? Some people really enjoy like taking a nice hot shower and get pleasure from that, part of them, that thing. There are people that get enjoy good, proper hygiene. Like I'm trying to like be stupid, like the mundane things in life, having a breakfast kind of thing. And then, go into some of the more extreme things. Um, I know I'm a bit of a sadist. Not to not very, very sadist, but I'm
Just a
kind of
little,
sadistic in some ways.
a little bit.
Just a little
Dad.
bit. Like when I enjoy, like when I'm like flogging or spanking or paddling or, whatever with someone, I'm enjoying the reactions that I'm getting from their bodies and from their like mouths, their vocal, their physical reactions to those things. Um, I am enjoying that.
You're getting
I
pleasure from
Yeah,
they're getting pleasure from the pain that you're giving them.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a very reciprocal kind of loop there,
Double the
you
pleasure,
know.
double the fun.
And exactly. Um, yeah, and again, as many people, I left my nipples for sure. And yeah, if like to give me pleasure, that would be one place you can go. Like right like there. Like, get on those and I will be fine.
Yeah,
So
mine don't really work, and I'd let people
yeah.
know that, but I don't stop them from doing it unless it's
Yeah.
they're doing something they're biting and it's painful. But
Yeah.
it's a
And
if you want to go ahead, just know it's not really
it's
giving
fine.
me pleasure, but I'm okay with it. It's fine.
It's not gonna do anything. Like I have like it I had a guy that I who had like had beautiful fucking nipples, but he was like, "Do not touch them. I get nothing from them. I actually they're not overly sensitive, or maybe they are overly sensitive. So please don't play with them in any way, shape, or form." Like he gave that rule from the beginning,
They're
and I was
sensitive, but not in the pleasurable way.
yeah, like I'm happy he told me that because had he not told me that, would have been all up on him. Like because they're very nice looking nipples. That makes sense to anyone. Probably not to anyone, but
Well, I mean, the key thing is that he communicated ahead
hmm
of time, like for the situation that was developing, like an awareness and kind of a boundary, a guideline to go by. Um,
yep.
and that's a key thing, when it comes to pleasure. It's like, well, as for instance, like last, yesterday I was doing some stuff during the day, and then I'd come home, and my friends visiting, and was like, do you want to go get dinner? And it was like, well, actually, I was really wanting ice cream, and I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, I was kind of thinking that would be dinner, just ice cream, and I was like, got it, like that's a thing. So we went out, we got ice cream for dinner. So, and that in the moment is, it wasn't a negotiation, but it was, a way to communicate and say, this is the thing that I want. This is, what in the moment is I think, give me pleasure, and I was fine with it. So we went out and we got ice cream at a local place, and it was really good fucking ice cream. And, so we, uh, enjoyed that, and that's one of the things I think that's a key to communication, in relationships, is being able to
hmm
describe that. And as I say, meet individuals where they are as opposed to telling them where they should be, which
hmm
is a big thing about my new job, that I learned about, and I kind of knew ahead of time, but having been an instructor or corporate trainer in that, like when you're educating another individual, it's best to understand that they have a set point. And so everyone's in variable, location. So anytime you start a job, and especially if you're in a multi uh, individual training, instructional, where it's a classroom, even if there's just two or three people, you usually find that like everybody is a little different. So some people have a wealth of background, they already have a ton of skills in certain areas, and some don't. And so, that's the challenge of the education process, is to, meet them where they are and figure out like
hmm
how to do whatever, because everyone is not an automaton, not everyone comes in and has the exact same thing. So, that's one of the things that I try to keep in mind when I meet other people, where and when and how are things. And I think that's like one of the biggest points about being like intimate with another person. Like that's the adventure, is the exploring and the understanding of what that is. Like I don't know who the artist is because I'm not very good at remembering this kind of stuff, but I'm going to look to Damon as our human jukebox. Um, there's a song, and the lyric that everybody knows is "Your body is a wonderland."
I think that's John Mayer.
And
I could be wrong.
the first time I ever heard that lyric, I was like, wow. I was like, that just kind of puts it all out there, doesn't it? But in a really, I think, beautiful way, but also very like spot on. That being with another person is like that. Like the human body can be an amusement park of sorts. And how much you enjoy that experience and doing that is really about the interaction in that case. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for pleasure. It has its pros, it has its cons. And my hope is that people can determine that for themselves and find what it is. And some people, one of the beautiful things I love is that everybody's a little bit different in terms of like pleasure. So like Jeff, we know that you love gaming. And so that's one of the things that derives you pleasure. I was just discussing with my best friend, like I can game, but I know myself that like I tend to be all in or I can't. Like it's either it's overwhelming consuming in a way, like maybe to the point of like being detrimental, like not to my finances, but like just a time and commitment to stuff. Or there's other things. So you have to kind of find the balance of the who, the what, the where, and the when it comes to that. Did you get it right, Damon?
Yeah, I did. And the song is actually called "Your Body Is a Wonderland." So
okay,
I didn't even, and I'm gonna be that bitch that didn't really read the lyrics before, and and I'm reading these lyrics, and I'm like, holy shit, I did not know this song was pretty fucking sexual. If you read it, like if you read the lyrics to this song, like it starts with, we got the afternoon, we got this room for two, one thing I've left to do, discover me, discovering you. Like, what?
Brown chicken, brown cow.
I'm liking this song more and more.
Yeah. Woo. Okay.
So note to everybody out there, if you've got a playlist on, your Zune, iPod, whatever the hell you have your music on, you can add this song to your bound checker bow bow.
Zune.
Fucking say Zune.
You said Zune.
Yeah, well, because
kids,
Buzz...
for those people who don't know, Zune was the Microsoft version of an iPod a long time ago, which utterly failed.
But here's why: because on Twitter, I follow Buzz from years ago when we did the Father's Day shows. I follow Buzz, and Buzz, posts some different things, and he replied to someone else's post because they had an older piece of technology. And I think it was like a first gen iPod or something, and he was like, "Well, I have a Zune or whatever." That's why it was like at the tip of my brain, like it just made me laugh.
I had a Zune once.
Yes, most of us now have probably a mobile phone of some sort that houses everything, but still.
Which is either an iPhone or Android for the most part.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So funny. So rich.
So add Wonderland to your sex playlist. There you go.
Your Body is a Wonderland is the title of the song. It is John Mayer.
How old is it? Do we know?
I can find out here in like 2 seconds. It is from 2001, so it is 19 years old.
I did not know it was that old. I was going to say like 8 years.
Well, it's so weird thinking about shit like that because like I think about like songs and I go, because I listen to, when I'm at work, I listen to Pandora And I have it on shuffle, and I have like my obvious like old school like 90s R&B station. So I know like things that are coming from that are like from the 90s. But I have other playlists, and I'm like, oh, I want to, like, every once in a while a song will kick in, and I'm like, oh, I remember that song. Like, how old is that song? And I'll go look it up, and I'm like, why is this song 10 years old or 12 years old or 15 years fucking old? And like, like it
Welcome,
God,
welcome to Daddy Cubs Out Loud.
no, right? Like, it just makes me
Here is the opposite of pleasure. Here is annoyance
yes.
at the recognition of time passing.
Like shit. Like I was oh no. I listened to a comedy station, like just like Today's Comedy is what it's called, but it's not fucking today. Like these certain like acts are from like 11 years ago, because one of them in particular mentioned it's 2009. I'm like,
Bitch, this is a current comedy? What are you talking
this
about?
isn't current.
Well, so here's an interesting like side point to that, like to go off of on your segue. So I last night, Heather like mentions, she's here. She's like, oh, there's this comedian that's British that's really kind of funny. Like she has this really sweet and endearing voice, but she like swears all the time. It says really inappropriate like adult things. And I was like, game, like let's. So we end up watching the comedy special, and it's from quite a while ago. I think she said it was from like 2012, and I was like, okay, that's 8 years ago. Here's part of like the archive like historical record. She keeps talking about DVDs. Like she's like, oh, this DVD and that on DVD, and I was like, yeah, that didn't age well. Like, because we don't really talk about DVDs no more. Everything's streaming. So that just goes to show, but it was still funny content.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciated it. But yeah, it's things are not what they used to be. And you kind of take for granted and stuff. Like even with work, thinking about how to say this. So we had to acquire more cell phones for some of the work that we're doing now currently. And one group of individuals was given flip phones. And so there's this whole like, why the hell were they given flip phones? And I was trying to get the logic through to people that this is about government and budget and cost, and flip phones are like $20 a pop. Like, they're rather, on the low end of cost, and a base level smartphone is probably around 40 to 50. Like not a lot of memory, doesn't do a whole lot of things, but you could get that. And the reason I know that is I'd given one to my mom like 3-4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. At that time, that's what it was. So I was explaining, I'm like, you just look at the numbers and you crunch it. It's like, well, when a base level smartphone is double the cost of a flip phone makes more sense. Because the idea was they're just going to make phone calls. Like they don't need to do anything else. But the whole discussion came about because of texting and reaching people. Right? So David knows what this is about.
On that flip phone, bitch.
Right. And so people were complaining about trying to text. And some people were like, why is it so hard to text? And I had to explain and remind people, like, because it's T9 texting. Like, press
You
2
have to press
three
2
times
3
to get the letter
times.
C. Yeah. I'm like, so now we're in the process of trying to get all of those upgraded.
Back in my day, we only had nine buttons to put on there. We couldn't put a smiley face.
Right. So there's an example of like
Good.
the transition of pleasure rate, like over time, like when the telephone and communications over wire was created, like that was an advancement, and it gave pleasure to people because they could actually communicate at long distances. And then we kept advancing on that technology, and eventually we made it uncorded, so you could have a phone in the home that had an antenna on it, and you could walk around the home without having a 50-foot, coiled cord to, knock shit over and strangle, pets and children and stuff. And then eventually we moved, into cell phones, which, were as big as a brick, and then got smaller. And so we've been making all these
bigger
advances.
and bigger.
Well, yeah, there's that. So, we've
which has
really
been bugging me.
transitioned. We've really transitioned the devices And one of the things that the devices are giving us is pleasure, like in the way of that we have an ability to communicate, to be connected, to request things. Like, I mean, I was just discussing this the other day. I was like, a cell phone isn't really a phone anymore. It's a computer. It's a handheld computer that does a gazillion things.
It's a
and
phone.
now that the new,
It's an internet communication device. It's an iPod. It's a phone, a communication device, and an iPod. Sorry.
yeah, I mean, it does a lot
Back
of
to the
different stuff. And
introduction of
now
the
with
iPhone.
correct me if I'm wrong, now with the newest Razer model that is being released, has been released with the foldable screen, like we're really like going further than what like a Star Trek communicator was doing. Like, so yeah, there's a lot to be said for the advancement of technology and what it can do for people. Hell, now you can buy, sex toys that are wirelessly Bluetooth connected, to the internet or whatever, and people can be, thousands of miles away from each other, giving each other buzzing joy. So there's there's a lot to be said for what
One of my one of my favorite things to kind of watch here and every now and then on Chatterbait is the guys that have the like Hush or whatever Love Sense thing, and it vibrates when they get like tokens, like the certain amount of tokens that they get. And there's one guy that I followed that like his is set kind of like his numbers are actually pretty low, to where like even if you give like 5 or 10 tokens, like it still does something. And it's very interesting watching that happen. It's just very fun. Like that's the like the pleasure pain like part of me, like
scrolling through chat of like token.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I
think
mean
people are
that's
intentionally splitting that thing up so that they can just watch it.
Well, I mean, and that's part of like what you were saying, Damon. I think that does tie into like the sadist part. Like, and I think this is a horrible analogy, but go on the journey with me. It makes me think of Avenue Q in the song "Everybody's a Little Bit Racist." I think like everybody has the potential to be a little sadist, like to derive some pleasure from another person's like pain/pleasure. And by that I
is
mean
called Schadenfreude, which is another song from Avenue Q.
That's another aspect of things. I agree with you. When you're watching that, that you could, see how that is giving them pain yet pleasure at the same time. Because it's pretty much a fine line between the two, and it, kind of moves back and forth. And the ability to have control over somebody else's emotional state is, in a way, sadistic. So there's that.
Wow, that is so weird.
And that gives us pleasure. To be a little bit sadistic.
I'm literally looking at the new Motorola Razr, and I'm just like, holy shit, that's freaking me out.
I actually got
the
a
foldable
product.
screen?
The foldable screen, yeah.
Yeah. Technology.
But anyway,
it is kind
continue.
of wild.
Yeah. Continue, Jeff.
I remember having a product red Motorola Razr, when the original flip Motorola Razrs.
Oh. I was not a Razr person, but I couldn't avoid it, man. Everyone around me seemed to have one.
I liked that it was thin.
Right.
My first was like a Nokia, one of the like candy bar Nokia phones that were like this, like 2 inches thick.
Yep.
And then this one was just like half an inch thick, and I could just easily slip it in my pocket. Like, I don't understand people getting the like iPhone 11 Max, which is basically like a small tablet. I'm like, how does that fit in your pocket?
Well, so there is something to be said for, well, I agree with the pocket issue. I think there is something to be said for form factor and how functional it is. Like, I got the newest iPhone CS, whatever, I can't remember what the hell they call it, that came after the 11 that just came out, because it's the same size, everything, as the 8, which is what I used to have. And in fact, I have to trade my 8 in, but the 8 Like, I like the factor. I have smaller hands. Like, my fingers do not reach as far for dexterity to like touch things on the screen in the app. So, like, but for work, I was given an iPhone 11. So I have this gargantuan, thing with a case and all that. And I'm like, ugh. I mean, I've adapted to it, but it is kind of annoying. And I think that the back in the day, the Razor and the new one, the new one has some nostalgia to it, but it like, I think it like there was something about that slim profile, like minimal, space that it takes up, and what it was able to do. So I think I'm kind of surprised it hasn't made the impact that I thought it would. Like, and I don't, but that's why I said I wasn't sure if it was released or yet or not. Like, Damon, when you were looking, like, is it okay?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can buy it now.
Okay,
It's expensive as fuck, but you can buy it now.
Yeah.
Well,
The
maybe that's
foldable
issue.
screen right now is expensive technology. If you want it more affordable, you got to wait like 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe
what
not
I'm
that
hearing
long,
is
but it's going to be a while.
What I'm hearing is it's not pleasurable to the pocket, like to the wallet.
No, it is
Yes.
not pleasurable to the pocket. You're beating the fuck out of your pocket with this phone. Like, non-consensual. Like, oh,
Yeah. Well, and that's the
Anyway.
other thing is, we've really required as a society that things be more indestructible, especially the higher ticket items. Like, that's the philosophy. The more pennies, the more dollars, the more pounds, the more whatever your currency is you put to something, the better you expect the quality and the satisfaction to be, and the more pleasure you're going to get from it. So it's like, if I'm going to spend this much, I expect to get this out of it. It's just kind of the scale of economy is the way I think it's viewed. It doesn't always work that way, but I think it's incumbent upon us to do some research and figure that stuff out.
True.
So that's pretty much all I had for today.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty much it. Now you know different ways to pleasure yourself. I don't know. I come up with these things on the fly. They're not necessarily good.
I do want to say earlier, David, I wasn't disrespecting you by laughing, but you did make a comment about you were saying something about pleasing yourself. So I was like, but that wasn't your intent. Like, you were using it as a reference, and you were not necessarily talking about masturbating at the moment. So anyways, I was chuckling because I was like, oh, really?
It's okay. Pleasure away. Like,
You're like, I
touch
see how you
yourself,
are.
Love yourself. Pleasure yourself. Like,
And the world will be a better place.
Exactly.
True dat. Anyways, guess what, folks? That's the end. Aw. But anyways, contact us. Let us know what gives you pleasure. Wink. At cubsoutloud.com, and leave a comment on the blog. Shoot us an email at cubsoutloud@gmail.com. Tell us over the phone. Over at 361 COL Talk. That's 361-265-8255. You can follow us on our various social media outlets at Cubs Out Loud in the appropriate place of the URL. That's Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, YouTube. You can also join our Entourage chat. Get a ping when we start up recording the show, especially when we're doing it at a time that we haven't been doing it really frequently, such as this, where we're doing it in the morning after a night I've had insomnia. We won't get into that. That's all at tinyurl.com/telegram-col. Find out, for the most part, when we plan on doing these shows by going to our Google Calendar at tinyurl.com/calendar-col. You can also get various merchandise and accoutrements, such as the Consent is My Foreplay shirts. That the pup and leather that my co-hosts are showing off here, or just
Bear
one of our
and leather.
regular logo. Bear leather.
I'm wearing leather. Gary's wearing bear.
I said pup, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
Okay.
It's okay.
Anyways. We do have pup. We have trans, but we have got drag. Do we have any others that I'm missing?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I think we got it covered. So we've got a plethora of different styles when it comes to the Consent is a Foreplay shirt. You have version 3 t-shirt, etc. You can get various other reward. That's all at Zazzle.com/Cubs Out Loud, and that's And also, you can look for your localization so you can get cheaper shipping. Same products.
Mm-hmm.
By going to zazzle.co.uk, zazzle.ca, etc. Zazzle has a whole bunch of different familiar places. Just make sure you've got the right localization. You can also become a patron at patreon.com/cubsoutloud, where recently some of our patrons have been getting some of their rewards.
Yay!
Finally.
They've been getting their shirts, which look good.
Yeah, we're sadly bad about that. And if you just want to shoot us some money, just a one-time donation, you can now go to paypal.me/cubsoutloud. You can rate us on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to us to Google Play Podcasts and Spotify. You can find me anywhere on the internet. It says Boxset, Box Puppy, Box Gub, Box something other, and in some cases, we're Windgem. Giving out my gamer tag.
Cool.
Yay! I am TheaterCub79 on most bear-related sites and Facebook. Or you can find me as pup_Umbra on Twitter. My Twitter is definitely not safe for work.
You can pretty much find me anywhere online as Gaber73. That's GARBEAR73. Just a polite reminder, if you're going to friend request me or try to follow me or whatever, you can send me a message and letting me know, so I know like that you're the real deal and not some bot or something.
Mm-hmm.
Hey! I saw you on Cubs Out Loud. I want to follow you. That sort of thing. And with that, where's my thing? Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good one, y'all.
Welcome to the post show, where we talk about some stuff, or we don't. It's up in the air whether we actually talk about things or not.
Okay. Ooh. Oh, that's my back. Shit. Oh, that show was very pleasurable.
Damon and I have found that joke pleasurable.
Can I fire both of you for the bad joke?
Considering this is technically me, I'm the owner. Can't really do much about that, Gary.
Would you find that pleasurable? Would you derive your pleasure from that? Yeah, I'm going to keep going, bitch. I don't care.
You know what? It's one of those things where it's like I need to wait 20 seconds and then be like, I'm going to take Gary out of his misery, but I need to wait 20 seconds for the last part of the thing to actually show, so that when that pops up the links at the end of the video, you can watch a popular video by clicking the video link on the left, see our most recent episode by clicking the middle video link, or subscribe by clicking on our logo on the right. Thanks for watching. I need to make sure I got at least 20 seconds of that, which means I'm going to